Hello again. Today we are going to go through the steps to complete the SAM Access Module 1 project. So you see I've downloaded 2 starter files and I have the instructions. So let's get started. I will open the access file. You can see that there's the enable content button. I will enable the content, and the very first act that the instructions ask me to do is to save the file with the underbar 2 file extension. So I will choose the save as. It's a little bit different in Access, where we choose save as a button, and we still need to choose a location where to save the file that we're working on. So in this particular case, I'll save to the desktop, save using the underbar 2 file extension, click save, and it turns out we need to enable the content a second time. There's just an extra check for security reasons, and now we can start with project step 1, which is create a new table in datasheet view, and then apply a few options after that. So the create tab is where we will be working, and we notice that there is a create table. It turns out that by clicking that option, the default is datasheet view. So we are on our way. We need to rename the default primary key field to state. By default, it is named ID. So I'm going to click in that ID field and then double click on top of the word ID. You can see that it changed to white text on a black background. Now we can just start typing the word state, and the name is changed. With the pink border around that field, we can see we have in the context menu under table tools, there's a fields tab. This is the area where we can change some details about the field. So with the state field selected, we're going to look for the data type and change that to the specified data type of short text. We want to change the field size to 2. And now we are done with the state field. We are to add a new field, so we will click to add. That data type is short text, and then we will name that field state name. Make sure to use a capital N in the middle of state name, because SAM is very particular about naming. We can click now down inside the field area to complete that task. To save the table, you can right click on the Table 1 tab, choose Save. A dialog will appear with the default Table 1 highlighted. we are told that the name of the table should be states with an S on the end of it. Click OK. The table is now set. With the states table open in Datasheet view, we are now going to add 4 records. We've added 4 records to the states table, and at this point we can save and close. We're now going to open the add rep table, and we are asked to open this table in Datasheet view. 2 primary methods to do this. One is to right click on add rep and from the context menu choose Datasheet view. Alternatively, double clicking the name defaults to Datasheet view. We're going to add a new field following the postal code field, and it is going to be named date hired, and it is going to have the data type of date and time. We'll start by looking for the click to add selection. The first thing that we're asked is to choose the data type, which will be date and time. The default name field 1 appears. That we will change to date hired. Now I'll tab to exit that field. But we notice that date hired has been placed after the salary field, and we've been asked to place it after postal code. I will first select date hired, and with the pink box around the entire area, I'm going to click again right on top of the word date hired. Notice the thick black line that appears. If I keep my mouse button pressed and slide to the left, you'll notice that the black line now moves between postal code and salary. That is where we want the field to exist, and when we let go of the mouse, it moves to the right location. At this point, we can close the table by clicking the X in the corner. When asked, do we want to save the changes to the layout, we'll simply choose yes. Our next task is to open the Billboard table in Design View. So I'm going to right click on Billboard and choose Design View from the context menu that appears. You'll notice the look and feel of Design View is different than Datasheet View. When you think of design, you should think of structure and an actual building of the table, and you'll remember in Datasheet View you saw the actual data that was in the table. So this task that we're about to pursue is going to change some of the structure of the table. We're going to change the data type of the height field. So let's select the height field, and a pink border appears around the height field. Change short text to number, and then we're going to look down at the bottom panel to find the field size. It was long integer. We'll look over to the right, choose the arrow, and find the correct option single, And one more change, we're going to change decimal places from auto, again using the arrow, to 1. At this point, we have finished step 4, and with the Billboard table still open in design view, we're going to add a description to the field named DEC. That description field is over in the far right. The description, daily effective circulation, has been added to the DEC field. With the Billboard table still open in design view, change the field size property for the location field to 75. So I will click the location field. You can see that the pink border appears around that field, and we now need to change the field size. That's going to be down in the bottom in the details, and it was 255, and we'll change it to 75. You can hit the tab after you enter 75, and the number will be effective. We're to save the changes of the Billboard table and then close it. So we'll use that same technique. Right click the Billboard tab, choose Save. We're admonished that the size of one or more fields has changed to shorter. We're aware of that fact. We're going to say yes, it's okay, and then right click the tab and choose Close. At this point, we are going to import data from an Excel support file. You should have downloaded that file at the beginning as one of the starter files. Getting Excel data is getting external data. So we'll use the External Data tab, choose Excel, and now we have to navigate to our location where we stored the file. In my case, I will browse to the Downloads folder, and the support file ending in advertiser was in that Downloads folder. I will click Open. Now the full path name to that location is in the file name box. What do I need to do next? I need to append the records to the advertiser table. That's the second radio button that says append a copy of the records to a table. I need to choose the correct table from the drop down. That drop down, select advertiser, and the remainder of the items can be remaining at the default, so I'll click Next. The name of the table is OK. I don't need to check the box. I'll just click Finish. I don't need to save the import steps, so I'll leave that alone and click Close. Now it looks like nothing much happened, but indeed the records from the Excel sheet have been appended to the advertiser table. And we're on to step 8. At this point, we're going to open the advertiser table in design view. So right click advertiser, choose design view, and you will see the familiar layout of design view. We want to make the following changes to advertiser ID. So let's make sure advertiser ID is selected. We want to make that field the primary key. Let's right click on top of advertiser ID. You can see one of the choices from the context menu is primary key. Let's choose that. You can see a little key symbol appears next to advertiser ID. We want to change the caption property, so that is down in the details in the bottom, and we want to change the caption to capital A D V and then a capital I and a capital D. Okay. Add ID. As the instructions indicate, do not type the period that's at the end of the instructions sentence. It's just ADVID. Now, save the changes and close the table. The next thing we are asked to do is open the Billboard table in Datasheet view. We'll double click on the Billboard table. The default view is Datasheet view. We need to navigate to the third record, so just simply count down to the third record. And we are asked to enter the word poster into the type field. The type field is over toward the right hand side of the record. If you hit the tab key, you move from field to field, and once in the type field you can type poster in the field. You can use an up arrow on your keyboard to navigate to the previous record, at which point you're supposed to type in the word digital in that field. Okay. You can use, again, up and down arrows on your keyboard to navigate up and down through your records. You can use the X at the right hand side of the table to close the table. Now we're going to work with a query. You can see in the access objects to the left there are tables, queries, forms, and reports, each in a separate group. We're going to open the Billboard listing query in design view, so that means right click and choose design view from the context menu. It's the query design tool that opens. We need to add a criterion so that only those records with a state field of WA get selected. So let's find the intersection between state in the column and criteria at the row, and just type in WA. You can tab out of the field, and you see that double quotes automatically got wrapped around the WA. That's the only criteria that we were asked to change. We can go to the ribbon and use the large red exclamation point to run the query, and indeed you should see all of the records for which the Washington State applies. Step 11 asks us to create a query. Before we do that, let's save the Billboard listing query and close it. To create a new query, we'll use the Create tab and choose the Query Wizard tool. We have been asked to use the Simple Query Wizard, which is the first choice. So we'll click OK and refer to the instructions that tell us to include all of the fields from the advertiser table. So in the tables and queries, I need to choose the table advertiser, and to quickly add all the fields, use the double right hand arrow to push all those fields over. Click Next. In this particular case, the name is correct at Advertiser Query, so we can click Finish, and the query runs for us and we see the data. And to close, use the X in the upper right hand corner. We're now going to open a form, the Add Rep Update form, the only form that exists at the moment, and we are going to open it in Form View, which is the default, so we'll just choose Open. To navigate from record to record, look at the bottom of the form and find the right-facing arrow, and you can see when you're on record 3 of 7. The Add Rep Number field should read KS02, and we are simply going to change the street address to 90 Mesa Verde Street. In this particular case, we are asked to enter street capital S, T, and period. Okay. So once that data has been changed, we can then close the form, and we are done with step 13. Step 14 asks us to create a simple report based on the advertiser table. So it's very important that we first click the advertiser table and make it the active selection. Then from the Create tab, we want to create a simple report. That will be the report tool. A report automatically creates based on the advertiser table. That's all we were asked to do, except for saving the report, and the name that we are to use is advertiser space report. Click OK, and then you can close the report. with the X in the corner. Step 15. We are going to open the Idaho-Wyoming Billboard Circulation Report. That's the last one on the list. Right-click, because we are not going to use the default view. Instead, we are going to use Layout View, which shows us the report broken up into its different report components. We need to modify the report so that it matches what is in the figure given in the instructions. We are to delete the type and facing columns. So first we will click in the first data field. You can see that the entire set of data has been selected. And then I am going to, while hitting the Control key, click the word type. Now the entire column is selected, and use the delete key on my keyboard to get rid of that column. And I will use the same technique with facing. Going to look at the first column, which is BBRDID, and we want to change that to Billboard ID spelled out. So we can double click, and that gives us the ability to just type in the new data. And the abbreviation DEC is to be changed to Daily Effective Circulation. Make sure you spell everything exactly as the instructions indicate. When you finish typing Daily Effective Circulation, you can hit the Enter key, and the field will be changed. Now we need to create a sum of the column, and that's easily done by clicking inside the column, and from the Design tab we will look for totals and click Sum. You can see that the sum appeared at the bottom. We may need to resize the box slightly so that the number is more readable. Let's change the report title from its existing wording, Idaho-Wyoming Billboards, to Idaho-Wyoming Billboard Circulation. That's just clicking inside of the box and using the backspace or delete key to remove any unwanted letters and enter the rest of the word circulation. We can hit enter when we're done. We can right click, save, and then close. And except for some final steps, we have completed all of our tasks. we want to compact and repair the database at this point in time. That is accessed by the File tab, Compact and Repair. That makes sure that the database is its most efficient size. And now we can simply close the database and exit access. You could submit your project by choosing the files, finding the file at the location where you saved. I saved to the desktop, so we'll choose there and submit.